The message arrived on Earth without warning or fanfare. A simple transmission, weak and deteriorating, picked up by radio telescopes across the planet. It took the brightest minds 3 weeks to decode it, and when they did, humanity fell silent. Help us, we are dying. Our attackers are relentless, we have nothing left to give. The interstellar community had long avoided Earth. Classified as a Class 12 death world, the planet was home to beings who had evolved in gravity that crushed most sentient life, in an atmosphere rich with oxygen that would poison delicate respiratory systems on a world where microbes waged constant war and predators lurked in every shadow. Humans were biological anomalies, built to withstand punishment that would obliterate most spacefaring species. The Galactic Council had debated for centuries about when, or if, to initiate contact. They watched as humans fought their wars, split atoms, and began to reach beyond their cradle. The consensus had been to wait another millennium, to see if the violent, resourceful creatures would mature or destroy themselves. But desperation had forced the hand of the Trillions, a peaceful race of traders and scholars from the Andromeda, ARM. With their homeworld under siege from the Void Armada, pirates who preyed on technologically advanced but physically fragile civilizations, they had broken protocol and begged for help. Admiral Thomas Reed stood on the bridge of the UES, defiant, Earth's newest and most formidable warship. It wasn't pretty or elegant like the gleaming vessels in the Trillion fleet. Human ships were functional, sturdy, built to take punishment and deliver it in equal measure. Final checks complete, Admiral. His XO, Lieutenant Kate Wilson, reported. The fleet is ready to jump. Reed nodded, his weathered face grim. Earth's response to the plea had been swift and unanimous. 27 nations had contributed ships, soldiers, and resources. For the first time in human history, the planet moved with one purpose: to answer the call. Send the signal, Reed ordered. All ships prepare for FTL. Across the void, the Trillion ambassador, Nix, watched the human fleet materialize at the edge of their system. The Void Armada had already destroyed 3 of their 5 orbital cities and begun landing ground forces. The remaining Trillion military, with their non-lethal containment weapons, had been overwhelmed within days. They came, Nix whispered, his translucent skin pulsing with hope. The Deathworlders actually came. The Void Commander Drez laughed when his sensors detected the newcomers. His species had conquered 12 systems in the past cycle. These primitive vessels posed no threat. Another group of would-be heroes. He sneered to his bridge crew. Prepare to educate them on the realities of space combat. The first volley from the human fleet changed his mind. The missiles weren't energy-based like most civilized weapons. They were kinetic, brutal things that ripped through shields calibrated to deflect plasma and lasers. 3 Void cruisers erupted into flame before they could return fire. Impossible, Drez hissed. No one uses physical projectiles in space. It's barbaric. The UES Defiant led the charge, its hull absorbing beam fire that would have crippled any other species' vessels. The humans had built their ships like their bodies to endure what should be unsurvivable. Ground teams deploying, Lieutenant Wilson announced as dropships detached from the fleet. On the surface of Trelia, the Void ground forces were methodically looting the great libraries and research centers. They had never faced serious resistance from the scholarly Trillions, who stood a full meter taller than humans but had evolved in low gravity, with brittle bones and minimal muscle mass. Captain Jack Rivera led the first wave of human Marines into the Trillion capital. They moved with practiced efficiency, their combat armor making them look like monsters to both Trillions and their attackers. Remember, Rivera told his squad over the comm, we're not here to conquer. We're here to protect. The Void soldiers discovered, to their horror, what it meant to face creatures born on a world that constantly tried to kill them. Humans didn't tire easily. They could function with multiple injuries. They could run for hours, lift impossible weights, and endure pain that would incapacitate other species. Most shocking to the invaders, humans fought with a creative ferocity that bordered on madness. They used the environment, improvised weapons, and employed tactics that no rational species would consider. Within 12 hours, the tide had turned. The Void Armada, for the first time in its bloody history, retreated in disarray. Admiral Reed stood with Ambassador Nix in the ruins of the Trelian Hall of Knowledge. Around them, human engineers were already helping to restore power, and medical teams were treating the injured. "We cannot repay this debt," Nix said, his translator struggling to convey the depth of emotion in his voice. Reed shook his head. "There is no debt. We answered a call for help as anyone should." Nix's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a Trelian expression of amazement. "You must understand, Admiral. The Galactic Council has feared your kind for generations. They believed that if Deathworlders ever left their planet in numbers, they would conquer all they encountered. We've done enough conquering in our own history," Reed replied. "We've learned that lesson at least." News of the human intervention spread across the galaxy at FTL speeds. The Council convened an emergency session. The paradigm had shifted. The equations had changed. These Deathworlders, these humans, had not come to dominate but to defend. 3 months later, Earth received another transmission, this time an official invitation to join the Galactic Council. The message came with a new classification for Earth. No longer a death world to be quarantined, but a guardian world to be respected. As Ambassador Ana Diaz prepared to represent humanity at the Council, Admiral Reed offered one piece of advice. "Remember who we are, both the good and the bad. We're not saviors, but we're not monsters either. We're just people who couldn't ignore a cry for help." And so, when the Deathworlders answered an alien plea, history indeed took a new turn. Not just for humanity, but for all sentient life among the stars.